And when I took lessons later in my later teens with a guy named Neil Smith, who basically was the hardest person in my entire life and in my existence to really break my backbone. And what I mean by that is my mom got me lessons in my later teens, like I said, and in my head, I was like, Mom, why am I taking lessons? This guy's, once he hears me, he's going to want lessons from me. This is how arrogant I was. And so when you get one of those humbling moments, it really breaks you down, like mentally and physically. So I go in and he's got one more year of college. So he teaches out on the side to make some quick cash. Now, this guy's a bebop drummer. Like I said, my grandfather played big band, so I gravitated towards bebop at a very young age. So I wanted to really learn bebop so I could go to college to be a bebop drummer. And in my mind, I'm like, this guy's going to ask me for drum lessons. And he goes, all right, man, sit down, play me some stuff. I'm like, man, this guy's going to be blown away. I start playing. And I am not lying to you, bro. He kicked me off my drum seat, off his drum seat, and said, don't you ever play that white boy ever again. And I looked up and I said, that's not what I thought in my head. And he just humbled me every time. And every time I had an excuse, he was like, you eat? I go, yeah. He goes, do you go to the bathroom? I go, yeah. You go to bed? Yeah. Well, you got time to drum. I didn't understand that completely until the hunger sat in. And it was one time where I was paying him, well, my mom was paying him a lot of money to do drum lessons. When he first couple months heard me, he would take my mom's money. But for some reason, the good Lord must have had a talk with him. He started teaching me for free. But he never told me I was a good drummer. He always broke me down. And there were times where I would go there at the conservatory of Oberlin College in Ohio and sit there for 4 hours. And he would come in 4 hours later and go, you better have your lesson prepared. I go, yeah, I got it. He goes, because if you're not, we're fighting. I go, what? So he would try to fight me in the parking lot. And I'm like, what is this? This is like straight Whiplash, the movie.
That's so funny. I was just thinking Whiplash as you were saying.
It gave me like traumatizing moments when I watched it, like flashbacks. And I hated him, absolutely hated him at that time. And then there was a time where I had to have my lesson. I didn't have a drum set, so I was allowed to play on his kit at the conservatory. Well, we had a really bad blizzard that night. And I'm driving, and a cop pulls me over and goes, code red, you can't be on the road. I go, you don't understand. I have to practice. He goes, practice what? I don't care. The law. Go home. You can't, or we can arrest you. So what do? I drive halfway home. I go down an alley, find a way to get, because this is before like navigation in our cars. We had MapQuest that you print out. So there weren't like backtracking. I just had to find my way to this conservatory. Long story short, I get there and I practice for 4 hours snowed in. That's hunger. Didn't understand that hunger until you really, stomach's growling, you don't have money to afford to go and get Uber Eats. So you make applesauce sandwiches just to crave the pains in your stomach. That's hunger. So no more excuses for me. It's like poor craftsman does not blame it on his tools. So when you're playing a drum set on a jam night, you go, oh man, you should hear me at home. I'm so much better when I'm on my kit. And people would school me on that. If you can play, bro, You could play on cardboard. And he's right. So those excuses went really quick. And I started to become a man. And he's the one that I give all credit to, is Neil Smith. He lives in New York now. But later in my career, I did a master class at Berkeley. I had the pleasure to do that. And real good friends of mine, the Borses, their kids go to Berkeley. So he put in a good word and they were like, yeah, have them come. It was nerve wracking because it's like, you can't BS a BSer, because it's like, these kids live and breathe drums. What am I going to show them? How to play a paradiddle? They're going to be like, no, Chad, you play it absolutely wrong. It's accent right, left, right. Right. So I was a little nerve wracking. Someone raised their hand after I got done in the clinic and they're like, didn't you study with Neil Smith? And I went, yeah, why? He's like, oh, he teaches here. And I go, well, what? What do you mean he teaches? Yeah, he teaches here. I literally had a flashback, like he was going to come to the stage and put like a chart in front of me and go and play in front of the class and then fail. He was that kind of guy. He would never compliment me until the very end when I was about to go to college. And I didn't get into one college, but I did get into another one. He goes, you know why I was so hard on you, bro? I go, why? He goes, because you had it all along. I just never let you know about it. There's a thing called tough love. And sometimes we all need it, right? And because of his tough love got me where I am today. So sorry for the long story, but that's part of my journey of how it all started.
As tough as that period of time was and how hard he was on you, when you look back now, do you look back with gratitude because the person you became as a drummer because of him or with his help?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I would have to say that if I had a time machine and I could go back in time, I would never change it. Yes, I give all the gratitude to him and the glory to God, because I felt that he put Neil in my life, because I was a mama's boy. I wasn't spoiled. I wasn't like, oh my God, if I don't get this, I'm going to cry. Well, I mean, we were blessed. We were not well off, but we didn't struggle by any means. And I think he was jealous of that because he wanted to make me a man. He's like, your mom called me for drum lessons, bro. You didn't even call me. I didn't know what that meant. Well, so you're getting paid. What's the point? It's like, what's the point? You're a man. You should call me if you wanted drum lessons. He got me so convinced. If I left my house and ran away, I would be one of the best drummers in the world. So I got halfway down to a stop sign in the dead of winter, and I said, you know what? I'm cool where I'm at. I'll suck. But also teachers' responsibility is be very cautious what you say to your student, because you never know what they're going to do. So our job as teachers is like, yeah, there's tough love, but there's a teeter-totter that I do. You can be hard, but you can also be soft. If they get a little carried away and arrogant, then you can be hard. But sometimes if you're too hard, they're going to walk away and be destroyed. And what if they could have been the best drummer in the world, but you destroyed it? So I use those trials and errors with my previous teachers to do and to not do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I wonder if, with maybe with any student that's not you, 9 out of 10 people, they end up quitting. It's too hard on them, but maybe it's what's needed for the one special drummer to actually break through to fulfill their full potential. So it's a weird balance of, if he went a little easier on you, if it would have been the same result. So it's, I
really honestly believe it would not be the same result. it would have never given me the drive to understand the appreciation of my blessing.